Hi friends, how are you today? As you know, I love books. I love good stories and I love sharing them with you. And I have a fun one today. It's called Down to the Sea with Mr. Magee. It is written and illustrated by the fabulous Chris Van Dusen. And do you remember Mr. Magee? We read another story of his called A Camping Spree with Mr. Magee. So if you missed that one, be sure to check it out. And friends, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a story. Okay, both are great, and we're gonna read this one today because it's quite an adventure. All right, here we go. Mr. Magee and his little dog Dee loved spending time in their boat on the sea. So early one morning at 6:32, they made a decision. That's just what they do. Right after breakfast, Magee packed a lunch, sandwiches, carrots, a thermos of punch, a big box of raisins, some sweet pickled beets, chocolate chip cookies, and crunchy dog treats. With plans for the day and enough lunch for 3, they hopped in the car and drove down to the sea. The pair left the dock at 7 o'clock and motored their way around Eagle Egg Rock. They passed by the lighthouse and by the old wreck, with Magee at the wheel and Dee on the deck. That sounds fun, doesn't it? They suddenly spied off the bow to the east a big pod of whales. There were 50 at least, splashing about in the bright morning sun, feasting on shrimp and sardines by the ton. Do you see all of those? But one little whale who had eaten his fill, munching on minnows and plankton and krill, was bored with his breakfast, and since he was through, he swam off in search of something to do. Now, Dee and Magee in their boat on the bay didn't notice the whale that was heading their way. They were watching the other whales put on a show, and soon that young whale was directly below. Do you see the whale? Uh-oh. From under the sea, the little whale spied Magee and Dee's boat, but not them inside. So he longed for adventure, he wanted to play, so he bumped at the boat in the most friendly way. Then the whale placed his blowhole directly below, and ever so gently he started to blow. Magee saw the bubbles. He felt the boat sway. Then up went the boat on a fountain of spray. Higher and higher the little boat flew, as harder and harder that little whale blew. Then the whale blew a blast as hard as he could, much harder, in fact, than a little whale should. And that final blast blew the boat up in the sky, first 30, then 40, then 50 feet high. Oh boy. The boat kept on rising, but it didn't stop there. Wind hit it hard and it flew through the air. Dee and Magee sailed over the sea when all of a sudden, that bird's like, ah! They got stuck in a tree. Look at that. So there they were, stranded, Magee and his pup, in the top of a spruce, 60-something feet up. There's that little whale. From their perch in the sky, the two watched in dismay as the whale far below swam swiftly away. Magee was downhearted. Just what could he do? Any ideas? They seemed hopelessly stuck. But little Dee knew the secret to get the boat safely unpinned was to rock back and forth and wait for the wind. So they rocked and they rocked for an hour or so. But the boat didn't budge because the wind didn't blow. Just when they thought they'd be stuck up there all night, they spotted far off a spectacular sight. What do you think it is? Away in the distance, across the blue bay, the whales, all 50, were heading their way. They swam through the water in one long straight row and gathered around the small island below. Magee looked down at the circle of whales surrounding the island and raising their tails. He felt a bit nervous, a little bit tense, when all of a sudden it made perfect sense. "They're trying to save us," he shouted with glee. "Hold on, Dee, hold on, as tight as can be." What are those whales gonna do? Their tails slapped down with a thunderous crash, which in turn created a super high splash that covered the island and raced up the tree and dislodged the boat and set them both free. Dee was so happy she let out a yelp. Magee tipped his hat to the whales for their help. "Thank you, my friends, for saving the day." Then they all waved goodbye and the whales swam away. On the way home, little Dee had a thought. What about all of that food they had brought? In all of the excitement, they ate not a bite. So they saved it and had it for dinner that night. Look at them in there. They're having their picnic lunch for dinner after a very exciting day. Isn't that a great story? And that is Down to the Sea with Mr. Magee. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, friends. I hope you're having a great day full of adventures too. Okay, and if you have a story that you'd like to hear, maybe a favorite, be sure to let me know. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye now.